Love and light, soul family. How y'all doing, man? I hope everybody doing good, man. You know what I'm saying? I hope everybody's blessed. You know, I hope they receiving that love. You know, I hope they, you know, drinking your water first off. You know what I'm saying? And man, I hope everybody tapped in. You know, with connecting with their higher self, and you know, talking to God on a daily basis. You know, and man, with that being said, bruh, I gotta start off by saying, man, on everything, I'm truly grateful, you know, with the ways in which God, you know, chooses to, you know, work on me, work with me, and work through me. In all honesty, bro, like, it's truly a fulfilling sensation. It's truly an honor, in all honesty, man, you know, to be a humble servant of his, you know, to carry out his works, to, you know, do whatever it is that he asks of me at those moments in time, whether they make sense or, you know, whether I can understand them or not. You know, I know the ways in which he chooses to utilize me, you know, on behalf of his divine purpose. You know what I'm saying? And so with that being said, man, I'm gonna just give you a brief example of, you know, how he chooses to utilize me, man. And I had a little, you know, situation pop off the other day, you know what I'm saying, to where I had plans to, you know, make some things happen, you know, for my personal benefit. It was things that I needed to make happen, you know. And me not necessarily listening to my intuition, doing it the way that I knew I should have done it, I went about doing it a different way, and it really didn't get me nowhere. And in all honesty, nobody's fault but my own, you know, because I knew better, you know. But I basically was left where I honestly, you know, started at. So, all right, cool, boom, you know what I'm saying? Once, you know, sitting back, laughing, you know, reflecting on that, just laughing like, man, I knew better, bruh. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. I was sitting outside in my car because I had just pulled up to the crib, you know, sitting there laughing, about to get ready to get out the car and go in the house, you know. I was having a little minute conversation with God and stuff like that. Something just told me to look up. And so I looked up. Now, mind you, you know what I'm saying, if my plans would have went as I had hoped for, I wouldn't have been at the crib at this moment in time. I'd have been out and about doing who knows what. But because my plans failed, it allowed me to be present at my crib at this specific location at this current moment in time. Boom. So, like I said, something told me to look up, and I happened to look up. I see this car coming down the street, on a street right across the street from my house. See this car coming down the street, you know what I'm saying, doing the speed limit. This dude was on his ride lawnmower, mowing somebody's grass. And he see this car coming down the street, and he commenced to just bag up out the driveway like he had the right of way or something. I don't know what his train of thought was, but he see the car coming and decides that he wants to back on out the driveway like, you know, he king of the hill, like he on the road. Car done hit him, you know, while he on the little lawnmower, you know. Boom. Now we got a whole little accident going on or whatever. Buddy, you know what I'm saying, flip out, get the wig in or whatever, you know, talking all crazy, being all loud. I mean, I understand, simply because, you know, the impact, you know, like a freak accident, you know, testosterone's tension and, you know, emotions and all of the above, you know, kind of arise people's blood and all of the above, you know, up and all of the above. So, you know, I understand, you know, it probably scared him with him being on a you know, a ride lawnmower and him expecting the car to stop. But I mean, the car had the right of way. But anyways, you know, it did damage to the lawnmower and did damage to the car. But anyways, where I'm going with it is, you know, he doing all this hooting and hollering and stuff like that. And I'm just looking from a distance. I see it's a female that's driving, a little white girl. She hop out the car. She, boom, go and check on him, make sure he all right. But I could see, you know, she disoriented, you know, and I'm looking like, I can't tell if this is a grown woman or a little girl, you know, from the little distance that I was. And so she had passengers in the car with her, and dude being kind of irate, loud, and all of the above. And then I see 4 black dudes get out the car. I'm like, all right, she cool, you know what I'm saying? She got people with her. They get out and they walk up over there, get the looking at Buddy, and then get the looking at the car or whatever. But as I'm looking even closer, I'm like, man, these look like kids, bruh. These look like some straight little kids. Hold on, you know what I'm saying? Because like I said, Buddy, he was just being extra and all of the above. And all of the above, bro. I'm talking about all of the above, to the point to where I'm like, man, you know what? Hold on. Let me get on about this car and walk up over here. I hop out the car. I get to walking, that way. I'm like, hey, man, y'all all right? You know what I'm saying? The kids look at me and they like, yes, sir. So that right there, you know what I'm saying, gave me that confirmation that these are some kids, bro. And when I say some kids, they some kids, you know what I'm saying? To the point to where after they acknowledged me and responded, the little four little black dudes, they done walked across the street, you know what I'm saying, and walked up to me and get to, talking to me about some things. All right, hey, look, boom, don't worry about it. Hey, just calm down, be cool, you know what I'm saying? I'm finna walk up over there. I'm talking about they completely left the little white girl. So I done walked across the street. Boom. I get to talking to her, trying to calm her down, because she it's her first little car accident. She don't know what to do, you know what I'm saying? Because she thinks she done hurt the man for real, But I felt like I needed to take my presence up over there because, now there's a crowd, 3, 4 grown-ass white dudes, you know what I'm saying, standing outside, assessing the situation, you know what I'm saying? And I could see that it brought about a sense of intimidation upon this little girl, and she young, she don't know what to do. The little black dude, shit, they ain't really got a key in the world because they ain't driving in no way, shape, or form. They ain't driving, you know what I'm saying? So they ain't really got no key in the world. So I sit here, I get to talking to her, trying to calm her down and ease her mind. I get to asking them their age and stuff like that, bro. These kids ain't nothing but 15, 16 years old. So I'm like, all right, well, boom, where your parents at? She, oh, well, tell me where her parents at. I'm like, call them, let them know what's up, so, they can have a sense of awareness just in case they need to come here or whatever, woo, woo, woo. And I'm saying, she kind of get to explaining her little situation to me and all of the above. I'm like, all right, cool, but, I mean, just to, let them know, you should probably give them a call. She like, they ain't gonna give a damn. So I'm like, all right, you know what, boom, I'm gonna stay up over here with you and with y'all, you know what I'm saying, as a witness, because I did see the whole thing and how it played out, you know what I'm saying, and, I know how folks be trying to act like they hurt, you know what I'm saying, to get that extra little bit of bread, because that's what Buddy was doing. When it first popped off, he doing all the hooting and hollering, he get off the lawnmower, after making it seem like, oh, she was going 40 miles an hour. I'm like, bro, if she was going 40 miles an hour and you on that lawnmower, you wouldn't still be on that lawnmower whenever that impact came. But the fact of the matter is that you were still sitting on that lawnmower like nothing ain't happened, you know what I'm saying? That let me know. I seen it with my own 2 eyes. She wasn't going no 40 miles an hour. She was going about 20, you know what I'm saying? But she had the right of way. Anyways, boom, he done got off the lawnmower, talking his little shit to her before I came up over there, walked and took the little picture of the license plates and shit like that. But, by the time the ambulance come, he down on the ground, clutching his back and all of the above or whatever. I'm like, bro, I done seen this before, you know what I'm saying? But like I said, I'm sitting here talking to the, little chick, giving her some guidance, telling her to calm down and all of the above, talking to the little dudes like, hey, no, y'all don't do nothing stupid. Don't try and run and none of the above, you know what I'm saying? These seem like some little military kids, for real, you know what I'm saying? And boom, police then came. Ambulance then came. They deal with Buddy, you know what I'm saying? Make sure he's straight and secure, put him in the back of the ambulance, get his side of the story, you know what I'm saying? They come in, the police come and, get to talking to all the little kids and, getting their info and phone numbers and, trying to get their side of the story to try and find out, what happened and all of the above. And so then, police come up to me like, hey, well, I mean, what's your role on all of this? I'm like, man, I synced it all. I'm an innocent bystander that's a witness, you know what I'm saying? But I felt the need to come up over here simply because the fact of the matter is these some little kids. You know what I'm saying? I could tell they was some little kids and, they was kind of scared. They ain't never been through this before, especially the little chick. And the fact of the matter is, who it transpired with is a grown ass, dude. I don't care if they both white, but now all of a sudden, he got like 3-4 white dudes up over here, grown ass men, I felt the need to come up over here because they wasn't about to intimidate these kids, yet alone do nothing to them. So I came up over here to let my presence be known like, hey, y'all ain't finna take advantage of these little kids, yet alone, talk to them crazy or do none of the above. Simple as that. Whether they know me or not, guess what? Boom, I'm here. So whatever you got to say, whatever you think you finna do or whatever, try again. Simple as that. I ain't finna let y'all take advantage of these kids or do nothing to them. Simple as that. You gonna have to go through me. Boom. Tell the little police officer, what happened, how it went down and all of the above from my perspective and, things of that nature. Bam. All right, cool. So they do their little investigation and all of the above. Boom. When it was all said and done, the police officer, he was a cool little dude, He sat there and, had a whole little conversation with me. He knew, one or two of the little dudes, throughout the neighborhood and all of the above, This is my first time ever seeing these kids and running into them, But boom, he sat there and had a little conversation with me and stuff and talked to the, chick whenever it was all said and done because she thought she was going to go to jail. One of the little dudes thought he was finna go to jail because he had a little misdemeanor or something like that, all of the above. I'm like, bro, you cool, Boom. Anyways, sat there and talked to him, for a hot little minute when it was all said and done. And, he told her, hey, well, y'all good to go. From my understanding in regards to, what Buddy said, him kind of telling on himself, assuming that she was going to stop. Granted, she had the right of way or whatever, yet alone listening to, their story and then, corroborating their story with my story. Not like I ain't do no coaching or none of the above. I ain't do none of that because I told her, hey, look, tell the truth. Just tell the truth. Whether you seen him or not, just tell the truth. At the end of the day, you had the right of way. Just tell the truth. Boom, I told him my version, what I seen or whatever, and he was like, man, well, based off of what I heard in regards to everybody's statement and her having the right of way, I'm not going to put you at fault, because technically you're not at fault. He shouldn't have assumed that you was going to stop because that's what he verbally stated. I assumed that she was going to stop, and I don't see her as to going 40-something miles an hour with him not flying off the back of that ride lawnmower. There's no skid marks or none of the above, Small little dent on a bumper. There was more damage done to the lawnmower than it was to the vehicle and all of the above. But, I don't see her as being at fault and all of the above. So, boom, he wrapped up his little investigation, told him, she come pick up the little report and all of the above in the next couple of days. And, he appreciated me, like, hey, thank you for, coming up over here and, telling your side of the story, yet alone making sure they was cool and, things of that nature. I'm like, hey, man, no problem. I can sense and see, these were kids and, they was kind of disoriented. They ain't know exactly, what to do, how to go about any of the above. And, I just wanted to, maintain some sense of, I don't know if I'm trying to say structure or what, but anyways, I just wanted to make sure everybody was straight, in all honesty. I ain't want these kids to be taken advantage of. I ain't want no harm to come to them, or, I ain't need nobody trying to run off, or, nothing. Simple as that. But more than anything, I wasn't finna let, this grown-ass man get to, talking to these kids crazy, because that's the way he jumped out, the way when he jumped out. No, I ain't finna let that fly. So I'm just glad that, my plans didn't play out the way that I hoped and intended for them to, because if they would have, guess what? I wouldn't have been at the crib to be able to, witness none of the above, yet alone to, be there on their behalf to make sure they was cool and, straight, yet alone to get this handled or situated, for them to be there as a witness on their behalf, man. And those are, I was grateful to be there because I didn't have to, go over there and check on them. I ain't have to step up to the plate and say nothing in no way, shape, or form. I could have stayed in my car, minding my business, yet alone went in the house and, let everything play out how it play out. But I don't really play when it comes to kids. I don't really like bullies, you know what I'm saying? I don't like people being used and abused, taken advantage of. So, I mean, it wasn't even a thought for me to, hey, look, let me get out the car and go up over here. It wasn't even a thought. It was like second nature. You know what I'm saying? But those are the ways in which God chooses to utilize me to do his works, when it comes to people and, being in certain places at specific times to see things and to do things, whether I want to do them or not, whether I choose to do them or not. I know the reasons as to why, I do the things that I do and I maneuver the way that I do, which is why I always, look at every situation that transpires within my life. I look at it from a different perspective, in all honesty. You know what I'm saying? And that was the perspective that I had to take from that. If my plans, would have went through as I had hoped, I wouldn't even been at the crib, you know what I'm saying, to be there to see any of the above, yet alone to help these kids out, bro. So, man, I'm just grateful. I'm truly grateful. I'm truly honored, you know what I'm saying, to be that individual that God chooses to utilize, to carry out his works in whatever way, shape, form, or fashion it is that he, calls me to do so. And in no means, by no means am I looking for a attaboy or a pat on the back or, some congratulations or some clout or anything like that, you know what I'm saying? Because shit, I get all my praise from him on anything. As long as I'm doing right when it comes to, his eyes, how he views me and all of the above, that's the only thing that matters to me. So by no means necessary am I looking for a pat on the back, an attaboy, or none of the above. And by no means, I don't need that from nobody. As long as, you know what I'm saying, he got me and I do what it is that he asks of me, hey, that's all the praise that I need, in all honesty, man. So, hey, sometimes, you gotta look for the positivity within, the negativity. You gotta look for the good within the bad. You gotta, understand sometimes situations from a different perspective when it comes to, plans not going as you hoped or intended for them to. Sometimes, that redirection is that protection. In all honesty, yet alone, you never know the reasons as to why, God redirected you. It could be not only, to benefit yourself in one way or another, but it could also be a sign of protection, but it can also, be at the benefit of someone else that could truly, use your assistance at that moment in time. So don't be so, hard on yourself or so negative or down, whenever certain situations transpire within your life and you take on that victim mentality and begin to blame yourself and feel some type of way and want to get mad at God because you never really know or understand the true underlying reasons as to why certain things take place and occur the way that they do and play out the way that they do. That's just my take on it, man. So, hey, love and light, man. Y'all stay blessed. I appreciate y'all who tune in, who truly do support, and who love these videos that I do, man, in the attempts to try and bring about that, perspective change and, bring things to people's awareness, man. It truly means a lot to me, in all honesty, whether it's said or not, man, I can feel the love. In all honesty, I truly can, and I truly do appreciate it, man. Y'all mean a lot to me, and this means a lot to me, and I'm highly blessed and favored and grateful to be able to do this, no matter if it brings any type of, residuals or not. I truly do. I'm just grateful to, be his divine servant, man. So, again, y'all stay blessed. Y'all stay prayed up. Love and light. Y'all already know who it is. Divinely one of a kind, man.